our regular scheduled meeting for November 14th. It is just 7 o'clock. And Madam Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Tom Lombardi,
Here.
James Murley,
Here.
Paul Mary,
Here.
Perry,
Here.
Paul Chaplinsky,
Here.
Michael Del Santo, Valerie DiPaolo,
Here.
William Dietzick,
Here.
Victoria Triano.
I am here. Let's stand for the prayer. And this evening, I would like, most of us know Mrs. Brown, Gloria Brown. She's quite ill right now. If we would just remember her, she has come to many council meetings, and so just to remember Mrs. Brown, she's in the hospital, could use all the help she can. So, who has the prayer? Okay, thank you.
Most Heavenly Father, we come to you this evening to ask for your guidance and your direction as we consider those things that have a direct bearing upon the people of Southington. Keep our focus clear and our conscience clean as we seek your help. Amen.
Amen. Just a moment of silence, please. Thank you very much. Would you join in the flag salute, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. You may be seated. May I have a motion on the minutes from last meeting?
Last council meeting.
Second.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Mike. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Are there any deletions or negative votes? Hearing none, it passes unanimously. Item 3, councilperson communication. Do we have any councilmatic communication? Chris?
First of all, I know the library director position obviously is open, and library board tonight is supposed to be beginning the process, but the referendum passed, so either the town manager, town attorney, how does that referendum impact the opening position of the library, just because that was a big thing?
Sure. I met with the library board today, as a matter of fact. They're meeting at 6 o'clock before this one. And I explained to them what I'd like the procedure to be, which is I wanted 3 to 5 members of that board to be part of the committee. So they're going to probably pick 3 people to be on the committee with myself and Michelle, our HR director. I asked them to submit some questions that they have to Michelle. So she'll put a whole packet together. And we hope to do the first round of interviews, if all goes well, the week of the 28th. The second round of interviews the following week. And then obviously with the input of the members of the library board, based upon the charter change, it's my decision, but it'll be based on the input from the library board.
Is there a time frame, like normal ordinance, when it passes for the charter to change? There's no,
I'm not,
20 days after publication.
okay, so we're not
No,
obviously within that.
what's that?
We're not at 20 days from
We-
passing this order.
We will be before the person gets hired.
Okay, so we're kind of just moving backwards in the process.
Well, the whole point of it is that the library board and myself want to get a director on board as quickly as possible,
Right.
because obviously I'm in my 6th week over there, and my budget starts. I start the budget process, so we want to try and get someone in hopefully by January.
A couple other things.
Yeah, sure.
Vicki and I had the pleasure of attending the Veterans Day prayer service at Southington Catholic on Thursday.
Yep.
Yeah. So they did a
Great.
great job. Just like to thank them for
Yeah.
inviting us.
Very nice.
They did a fantastic job
Yeah, they really did.
for that event. Many of you might have heard, and members of the community and council might have heard, on Election Day was Professional Development Day for Southington Public School staff. Not just teachers, but all staff were the opportunity, and the Southington Police Department led that professional development just around school safety. I don't really want to get into anything more than that, but I cannot express enough what a fantastic job
Yeah, I'm hearing that all over town.
the police department did. It was especially touching when they came in at the end of the day to see all the Southington Public School staff give them a standing ovation. So just a huge thanks, especially to Lieutenant Egan and Lieutenant Lepard.
Yes.
So they really just did a fantastic job. I can't speak enough about that. So just want to acknowledge and thank them and our entire Southern Police Department.
Yes.
Finally, just thank you to the residents for approving the roof at Southern School. That obviously was needed. So just thank you to the voters for coming out in support of.
Great. Thank you, Chris. Yeah. Anybody else? Councilmanic Communications? Anybody?
Madam Chair, I have one thing.
Yes.
Myself and Councilman Morelli and Madam Chairwoman were at the Veterans Day event on Veterans Day at the American Legion. As always, a wonderful job by everyone there. It was great seeing people from the public come out and honor our veterans. It's a great little event, very quick, 11 o'clock on November 11th, and they always put on a great service.
Yeah. 11, 11, 11. That's right. Very good. Anyone else? Yes, go ahead, Tom.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to give a brief congratulations to all of the candidates that put themselves out there for the last few months at the state level elections. It takes a lot to run for office, and it's a lot of work. And also our town staff in the elections departments, they're working as we speak right now, and that work doesn't go unnoticed by all of us. Secondly, I wanted to recognize, we come up here a lot, and which is wonderful. We always recognize the state champion softball team, football team, wrestling. But on November 5th, there was a great accomplishment by Councilman Palmieri School, the Apollo Cross Country Boys. They made school history at a state event in Wickham Park in Manchester. The Apollo Middle School competed against hundreds of runners from about 40 middle schools, and DePello finished second overall in the state cross country meet. So congratulations to the DePello cross country boys team.
Fantastic coach.
Yes. That's all I had. Thank you.
Very good. Anything else?
Yeah.
I do have an invite for I'm sorry. Valerie?
I do. I didn't know if anybody else had any.
Oh, no, I was just talking about Thanksgiving. Is that what you were going to talk about?
No, but just a couple.
No, you
just a
go
couple.
ahead. I'll
Thank you.
take
Thank you.
Thanksgiving.
So I need to mention that it's Community Foundation Week. We all received the email that it's National Community Foundation Week. And I just wanted to say that we are very fortunate in Southington to have the Main Street Community Foundation, the Greater New Britain Community Foundation, that really does, pour a lot of money into our town.
Yes, they do.
Positive impact. And, I just think that really helps a lot of residents and a lot of organizations. So we're very fortunate. I just want to thank both of those organizations. And I just piggybacking on the referendum questions. And I did speak with Councilor Palmieri briefly about the Board of Ed meeting that it was announced. So, just disappointed that the referendum question for the athletic complex, did not pass. Many of us were up there and saw the condition of these fields and tennis courts and everything. So I'm just hoping that it sounds like there may be a plan going forward, but I'm hoping that the council's going to be really kept abreast of what that is. There's obviously ongoing Title IX issues, and I'm more concerned are the safety issues, for everything up there. So I just want to really be kept up to date on that, and so that that everything's transparent. And I've had a lot of residents, a lot of parents of athletes at the high school reaching out this past week. So I couldn't really give them an answer, but I just wanted to put that out there that I hope there's going to be something moving forward on this.
I know that the town manager, and if I could just say that the town manager and the superintendent have already met
Yeah.
quite quickly after the voting. So we'll take one step at a time, but I agree it's important for us to really look at it and see what we can have, and what we can do and what we can't do. There are things that, we can't just come up with all that money, but let's just keep an open mind and see what we can do to help, because there is safety issues up there. I think all of us have gotten up there, so we'll see.
Right.
We'll see. So the process is beginning already, Val, is
Okay.
my point. So,
Yep, okay,
Sure.
thank you.
Okay.
Madam Chair?
Yeah,
Regina Caviello sent us all an email. Should I read that? She wanted me to read it on the record. Should that be read now or?
yeah,
during-
sure.
Okay, thank you. So she sent it this morning. She said, "Good morning, everyone. I'm unable to attend tonight's meeting due to an illness, but I was planning to speak at Public Communications. I was at the last Persons with Disabilities Commission meeting when we found out that there was another member who resigned. So we just got one member replaced and another resigned. At the October 11th Town Council meeting, 3 names were brought up for consideration to the open appointment for Persons with Disabilities Commission: Kristen Curley, Robin Mitchell, and Candace Mazzarella. Candace, who since that meeting is a member of the Connecticut State Community College Student Disability Council for all state community colleges. The chair stated that all 3 were very qualified. Kristen Curley was appointed by a 6-3 vote. Kristen, I would like to say thank you and congratulations. Now that there is another opening, I feel this is only fair to appoint one of the other 2 people whose names were brought up, not add another name. I hope you all take this into consideration. I also wanted to let you all know that I would be more than willing to help out with the Fair Rent Commission, even as an alternate. Thank you for your time. Regina Caviello, 12 Beecher Street, Southington, Connecticut."
Thank you. We could actually attach it to the minutes. Yes, go ahead.
Just one item. Wanted to thank Unico and Testas for another great year at Testas to support the Italian community through Unico this past week. It was a week ago Monday, I think, and many of us were there. So it was great to see everybody out there. And I think, if I recall, at the beginning of the meeting or the beginning of the dinner, they said it was one of the most heavily attended dinners that the community has had. So it's great to see so many people coming out to support the Italian community. Hopefully we can continue to build off of that.
Yeah, it was quite fun.
Madam
Yes,
Chair?
go ahead.
Thank you. Sorry, I know I already spoke, but I did want to elaborate on what Councilwoman DiPaolo said, and I think it's mid-November now, and there are some essential updates and safety issues that she outlined earlier. I think as we approach budget season, I think it's appropriate that for this council that we get updated on where we stand on the turf field situation. What was it, 20 years ago or something? It was a long time ago, 10 years ago. And there's a fund set up. I think that this entire council should have a full understanding of what funds have gone into the account, how the money goes into the account, what the balance is, so that we're fully prepared come January and February during budget season. So if that's okay with you, Madam Chair, I would request that the town manager add that as an agenda item for either December or late January. Just a brief update on that situation.
I'm sure he could do.
And Madam Chair, if I can add on that, I did have a brief discussion with the town manager about similar, and we're going to pull some of the more detailed. The presentations we had was close, it was a $17 million referendum question. The town manager is going to pull some of the pertinent details around the softball field, the turf, the track, and the tennis field, because I think those were the 4 that were really identified as either Title 19 or safety.
Right.
And I think the total was somewhere around 4 to 5 million for those. And I had asked if we could prioritize those, especially around safety. And then from there, as you had mentioned, we all need to start to figure out what's possible and what's not. We can't spend 2 million because that's a referendum, but we can go to referendum for a safety issue at the next election if we have to. So we have to look at the levers, and we understand that what the Board of Ed put up last time at 17 million was probably more than, well, it was more than the community wanted to see. But certainly we have to figure out how to address the safety issues. So. Hopefully we'll have more of those details on the costs.
No, thank you. And can I just offer too, if, would it be possible to go to a special referendum for a smaller amount?
It's always possible.
I mean, something that
It'd have to be-
the council would have to consider that.
Well, let's start
right?
with the Board of Education. Has to start with the Board of Education, then we'll go to the Board of Finance and this board. But with the Board of Education, we'll put the request here first, and then if you wish to move forward, you'd go to ask for a public hearing at the Board of Finance, and then come back here for your sending it to the public at a time to be determined.
And how far, it's 60 days out when from the decision?
It would be 60 days from the time the bond council prepares all the documents and has them ready for you.
Okay. So would we, if we were looking to do that, we would have to have conversations with the Board of Ed?
The Board of
Start
Ed
with
is
the
already,
Board of
as the chair mentioned, I did meet with the superintendent, actually less than a week after the election, and he has some ideas, I have some ideas, but obviously it's got to start with the Board of Education. So it'll start with them and see where we go with that. But we did talk about the fact that there are certain areas that can't wait 5 years.
Right.
We're talking about certain areas that we'll talk about the next 12 months have to be done.
Right, so I guess that's my question. Those conversations, can we be a part of those conversations? Like, to what extent?
Starts with the Board of Education. So yes, if you wish to discuss this with the Board of Education, contact Board of Education, see where they are with that.
And
I
talk
deal
about-
directly with the superintendent, but like all these, like the projects that have to do with the school, it starts with the Board of Education.
Okay. I mean, because,
The turf field obviously is a little bit different because we have a little more input on the turf field.
right, because of the fund that's there. And
Exactly. The fund and the fact that it's used not only, it's used quite often by town leagues too. So we'll be very closely involved in the turf field.
Okay,
But I do believe that, as you know, the Board of Finance and this board, using budget reallocation money, did put money in for the, I'm not sure where that is right now, but they put in, I'll say 200, I think it was 200 something $1,000 for the softball field. So I'm not sure where they are with
well,
that.
that's what I wanted to mention. So some of that work is being done,
Yeah.
but it's not all been done. And it's still not, so the safety concerns are the primary concern. I agree with that. But I want to say that the Title IX issue is right behind it.
And there's still access issues there too. I mean,
And there's ADA,
need-
there's access issues
still
on the
Board of Ed
entire
can choose
complex.
The Board of Ed can choose to work with the Board of Finance and reallocate some of the carryover funds. As you know, there's carryover funds from those 2 fiscal years. But
That's right.
that's got to start with the Board of Education and the superintendent. And of course, if they go to the Board of Finance, I'm sure the Board of Finance would be open to any discussion, especially if it has to do with safety issues.
And Title 19.
Right, the Title IX, so the Title IX issues is that the 200,000, I think it was 215,000 that we had approved. So some of that's been used, but there's still, there's still no dugouts that probably they will not have for next spring. I don't know if they would have them. There's no lights, for the girls softball. So, the question that is raised, a couple of parents that contacted me said, boys baseball team, they're gonna play night games, in the spring. Girls softball can't play night games. They don't have lights.
That's not necessarily the case.
Well, I don't know if that's the case. Do they have?
But all I'm saying is that it's best, if you do phone calls, please do what I do. Have them call Steve or the AD. Well, they're both named Steve. But
Right.
that's the best way to do it because they have the answers for you on where they are, because I have no idea where they are with the $215,000. So when they do have questions, certainly Mr. Risser and Mr. Bedancy will be happy to answer any questions that they have.
As to how far they are with so I can reach out to Steve
Absolutely.
Risser for
Either
that
one of
too
the
as
Steves
well.
would answer those questions for you.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Good. Anybody else? Yes, Jim?
Thank you, Madam Chair. 2 Mondays ago on the 31st, I attended the groundbreaking ceremony for Ion Bank on North Main Street. And they were very excited. This is a new key market for them. I did want to advise everyone that they're building a building that has the bank and a retail space attached. They're looking for a early groundbreaking and they want to be in it for spring. I also attended the Veterans Day ceremonies that Mike mentioned already. And again, thank you to the American Legion for all that. It was an excellent event. Along that same line, on this coming Saturday, the 19th, the Sullyton Elks Lodge 1669 is holding a Veterans Military Appreciation Dinner for any and all vets that want to come in. That's Saturday, this Saturday from 4 to 8 at the Elks. And then lastly, I wanted to give a special thanks to the Town Highway Department and Annette Turnquist for the milling and repaving of the railroad tracks on West Queen Street. They were there the last 2 weeks fixing that phenomenal mess over there. And it's much nicer today. I also wanted to report that I did speak to a state DOT official there a couple weeks ago who was doing an inspection of the intersection. And he told me that because the state knows that those tracks are abandoned from the Yard Metals property south, that they're in the process of decommissioning that crossing and aircraft road. So they will be removing the railroad signs so that trucks and buses don't have to stop anymore. So keep an eye on that. That's on the way.
Okay. I just have one thing, and that is that this coming Tuesday, November 22nd, it's the annual Thanksgiving service. This year, the Clergy Association will be having it at the Congregational Church, and it starts at 7 o'clock, and everybody's in the community is invited to come. It's really kind of an exciting evening because all of the churches, those with different types of worship come. The Sikhs from the Gurdwara up on West Street usually come. I'm not sure if they're on the program this year, but they usually do come. And our rabbi from the Jewish congregation in town come. So it's quite lovely, and get a chance to join together with other denominations and other faith communities and just be thankful to the blessings that we've received and those that we are going to receive. So it's a beautiful time, and I'm very happy. I spoke to Pastor Brown about it today, and I'm very excited to be part of it and once again to participate. So. All right. Anybody else? Last call for Council Matter Communications. I'm going to close that up. Report of special committees. Open space.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a few items. Over at Leaf, the repairs to the roof or the ceiling have been completed. We are in the winter session of the CSA program. So if you're interested in winter CSA and any vegetables there, please see Mark Ramsey at the Leaf. Also, there is a wreath building and decoration class that is being offered on the website as well. So if you're looking for something to do, bring your own bottle of wine and have some friends and do some wreath decorating, please contact the Leaf program. And then we did complete the scavenger hunt on our open spaces. We put out over 100 of the glass fish floats, which was quite well received. Received a number of photos back from people who found them, and we'll look to do something hopefully even better next year. And then finally, there's a handful of us who are looking to have another historic tour, including our open space parcels around town, which we hope to kick off we had hoped to do it this fall, but time got up on us and we were going to schedule that for the springtime. Chris, Jim, anything that I might have missed?
You got it.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Public Works.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We had our meeting on Wednesday, November 2nd. Just a couple of items. I want to remind everyone that the transfer station is open for leaves on Friday afternoons from noon until 4 through leaf season, except for the week of Thanksgiving. They won't be open that Friday after Thanksgiving. And then Ms. Turnquist reported that there were a good number of snow bids received. We're going to be talking about that later on in our meeting. The school access, the old school access walks are in the process of being repaired. Mulberry Street is currently being done. It looks great. I've driven by it a few times. The repairs on Mulberry Street look really great. And if the weather is cooperative, they'll move right over to Parkview Drive and take care of those before the winter. The first couple days of leaf season, this was a couple of weeks ago, went fairly smoothly. Zone 1 was just about done at the time, and then they're moving on to Zone 3, and then they'll backtrack to 2, and then 3, and then 4, and then hopefully, if there's time, back to 1. So I know some folks are a little impatient. I saw some posts on social media. It's like, where's the leaf guy? I did all this hard work, and no one came to suck up my leaves. So they're coming.
Yeah.
They will stick to the schedule, and it may not be the day you want them there, but they will complete all roads.
And they're working very hard, Mike.
Oh, they
I'll
do.
tell you,
They do.
we have a lot of leaves this year.
We lucked out with the weather. Last
they're
week's
doing
weather, it's
so
getting
well.
colder now, but last week,
appreciate
70
it so
degrees.
much.
It was a great weather week. A couple other things. The town green upgrades are in the practice of being done. The paver guy is working on the stone walls now. I don't know if you've seen it. It looks wonderful. All those walls are being repointed. The Christmas tree is up. Obviously, it's a little smaller than the one that was there, but the tree that we selected is very nice, and it's going to grow. I promise you it will. So we'll continue to watch that, and it'll be decorated this year. And then later on tonight, we have a couple of items that we discussed: the municipal center boiler room abatement and the Burritt. I'm sorry. And then the last thing was Burritt Street. We're having the police department look at possibly putting stop signs in the Burritt Street railroad crossing like we did here on Mill Street. So Officer Schneider is going to take a look at it and give us a report at our next meeting, so more to follow.
Excellent.
Not sure if I missed anything, Chris, today?
No, that was pretty, I just want to add
Yeah,
something that,
please.
and actually a suggestion, maybe through manager for next year. So the leaf zones, it's on the website, but it denotes it by looking right at it, south of West Center Street and west of Route 10. But many residents still aren't necessarily sure where they,
All you have to do is type in your street and it'll show you what zone.
and where.
It's on there, yeah.
on there
It's a
today.
drop down. It's got
does,
every
yeah.
street in town.
So you could do it two ways. Your street, you go to the street index, it'll show your street and what zone you're in. Or if you want to type in your street, it'll show you.
It comes right up,
Okay.
yeah.
That's
So
what I
we
was
did
gonna-
that.
Yeah. In an additional layer, let me mention this. Ms. Turnquist has been taking a picture because after they're done each day, Gabe goes in and he highlights the streets that were done. So she's been adding pictures every couple of days on the town website of what streets were done, just to try to help it
did
along.
Bellevue,
Because listen,
it was great.
I still get lost in Southington. I'm on 51 years, so I'm directionally defunct. So anyone that has issues, they could always look up those streets, and they could always call the highway department, and they can help them as well.
We did that.
Great.
Madam
Okay.
Chair?
I think we got a
Applehart.
question.
Oh,
Madam
I'm
Chair.
sorry. I didn't. Yes.
I guess it's a question I maybe geared more towards Mark in his office. Is there any update on the Route 322 bridge project?
We do not have the, you're asking for the traffic study? I don't have that yet.
Okay, did they give us an estimate or your office an estimate on when that would be done?
Well, they said several weeks ago, so we'll have to get in touch with them again.
Okay.
We asked back there in the meeting, and they said there was nothing yet. So we had Jim ask them again, and so I'll make sure I report on that for the next meeting.
Yeah, I just want to make sure we're staying on top of that, and obviously
Yeah.
we're doing what's best and holding the state accountable on that.
Can I just ask for a simple fix then, maybe through the town clerk? I'm on the website right now. It is, that link is not under leaf collection, so it's probably somewhere else. Could we also put a link right, when you go to leaf collection, all it says is public notice.
Are you on the highway page or are you
Yeah.
on the?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's probably somewhere else on the website, but I mean, I know.
There is a news item as well for the leaf collection
It's on the front page.
on the front page.
All right, we'll
So
double
all I'm
check.
saying is, can you also put it in when you go in Highway Parks Department? When you go in the department, there's a section leaf collection. Could you just add that link there? Because that's probably where people are looking. So I'm looking and I don't see it.
Yeah, Jay will do that. Kathy will talk to Jay, he'll pop that
Okay,
in the morning.
perfect. You know, I know obviously it's there,
Yeah.
but just
Yeah.
to make it.
Make it easier. Sure.
Okay, thank you.
All right. We're up to the Library Building Committee.
Madam Chair, the Library Building Committee met last Wednesday, and they are still in the process of the value exercises that we spoke about last meeting. There was some good news that the test borings that were done on the potential site came back positive. And the next meeting is scheduled for next week.
Okay. Any questions?
Positive meaning no issues.
This Wednesday.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, sorry.
This one.
It's this Wednesday.
right.
Positive means no issues.
Right, there's the water level,
It's
water
not
table.
like a cancer test. This is actually positive, is good news here.
Positive
The water-
news.
The water table is low, which we were not so sure about, and there were no serious ledge issues or underground structures found. So, in other words, the soil's good and it's dry. So that was favorable.
Yeah. Great.
Madam Chair, can I just ask,
Sure.
Jim, I just, in the last couple articles in the paper, about the cuts and the downsizing and everything, what is your feeling on it? Like, what are you,
Just today.
are you happy with them or not happy or?
The
mean,
actual finished design is still not done. So we're in what's called design review. And what that means is we're looking at the original idea, design from a 10,000 feet, basically, to get a budget established for the size. We're now starting to get lower to look at what fixtures we're going to use, how many skylights, what kind of window. And so we really don't have a final design yet. I mean, well, I guess that's not really fair. We don't have everything nailed down yet. So I'm very comfortable that the building will be built in the size that we said it would be. The all indications are it won't be a problem. The issues are really in the areas of the technology and what we start out with new or used, things like that. And also the extent of the finish. In other words, patios, whether they're finished or not finished. Do we put the pavers on the outside upper deck? Or do we leave that closed for a time? So in general, I think the design is really awesome. I think it's going to be 100% more functional than the library we have today. I know that people are still complaining that they think we should stop, but you know, we had a budget, we got it approved, and we're going to build the best we can build.
So when you say it's coming in on the size, so you're talking about the 24,000 square
Yeah,
feet
yes.
at this point,
Yes.
right?
Yeah, and the budget, although it's $1 million, I don't know what the exact number is today, $1.4 million. There are a lot of things in that $1.4 million that are basically up in the air. So if we could get donations for some of those things, it would bring it down. So to me, the design is really, I think the design is wonderful. The question is, how complete will the building be with the budget that we have? And how hard do we have to look for other alternative methods to pay for things?
Okay.
I don't think we're sacrificing anything.
It just the tone of the articles, it just seems like, where it talks about, reusing furniture and the technology package won't be able to, we won't be able to get the Chromebooks and the new computers and all that. I know there was a big thing about I was there for a little bit about the outside, the retractable
The
glass
doors.
doors. Yeah.
Yes.
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 Yeah. So,
Well, although that's out right now, it's not totally out because again, it's only a component of the cost.
yeah.
And so again, they're trying to nail down some of the things that they know they can nail down as far as cost. I mean, obviously the construction is a construction, but then little things like lighting and how many master switches versus individual switches. There's a lot of detail that goes into the cost. So we're trying to look at all that.
Chris?
I had mentioned before, just because of really concerns of with this project, if we are cutting things now and we want this for 20 years, 30 years in the future. I know I had asked at a previous meeting, because we've done this in the past, we've gone back to referendum and let the voters decide. We were waiting on information. We were, when I've asked in the past, it's we're waiting, trying to get information. Where are we at? I mean, when are we going to come to a point where we can maybe discuss that if we do need to? And maybe this is plan B, to cut back on the scale of the project if we don't get additional funds. But I mean, right now, the project itself did pass overwhelmingly in the first place, and we're not meeting what was stated back in the original referendum. So why wouldn't we go back to the voters and ask for their approval?
Chris, I just want to correct you because the referendum didn't, you're talking about the 30,000 square feet, I think. Well, that was never in the referendum question. It was hoped for as we discussed it at that time. So I just want to be clear that the referendum question did not have 30,000 feet in the referendum question. But I think it would be very good if we want to take some time at our next meeting, if you want to talk a little bit about it and share your thoughts. I mean, this is open. We can do that. We can take some time and share your thoughts on whatever. And people can just share their thoughts.
I think the last time we spoke, Madam Chair, I think the town manager had mentioned in one of the updates a meeting or two ago that we were waiting on some environmental studies as well that were due close to the end of the year, if I recall, because we weren't sure what the demo costs
We're
were.
not done yet.
And that was one of the driving forces was how much was it going to cost to demo the building because that's in the,
right.
that's in the overall cost that also that Jim's talking about. And that could be, you know, it could be 700,000 or it could be 7 million if we found something really bad in there, right? So that was one of the major missing components.
And that's actually proven the point even more because again, the middle school referendum, that is exactly why we had to go back to referendum.
Right.
Because specifically for environmental.
Right.
Obviously, this is inflation and a little different, but, yeah. So back to my original question. So when do we anticipate the results for that? Because we are still waiting for those results.
I could tell you that the 3 quotes came in. I can't tell you whether the executive, I don't know if they approved of which one of those 3 quotes, and then it takes several weeks after that. So when someone said I don't know who said you or Paul said the end of the year, that's probably close to the time period.
to
So
your
would
point,
you
maybe we
rather-
should wait until,
Yeah, I think that's a
because
good
we
idea.
need- We need all the facts before we.
We're hoping, Chris, it's not a situation like the middle schools because the building gets raised. It's a lot more expensive when people are stay in the building. So
Okay.
we're hoping for that.
Okay.
Okay,
Fair enough. Yeah.
very
Madam
good.
Chair?
Yep.
Madam Chair?
We'll keep it on the,
Madam Chair?
yes.
I want to piggyback off that. And I had a resident reach out to me over the weekend, came to my listening event that I had about the library. And they saw the article as well in the paper. They were supposed to come this evening, but I don't see them out there. So I got to voice his frustration. And the frustration, that he has is that, again, an idea has been sold to the community. When I door knocked, I talked to residents, and there was literature that was handed out to the residents. And I see what I feel is kind of happening here is the library building committee is moving forward. And, again, they're appointed, we're elected. We're elected to represent our community and do what's best for our community. And I feel we're kind of, just not blaming the building committee, but saying, well, they're working on it. They're working on it. We're elected, Madam Chair. We should be talking about this. This is something that is big. And, like he put it in this perspective is, we're going to spend $17 million roughly to get 3,000 more square feet of a library. He goes, I didn't vote on that, and that's being fiscally irresponsible. And he goes, I would have voted no, but I voted yes because I thought we were getting this. So I really think that we should have this on the next agenda and really dig into this and talk about this and have maybe action of what we want the library building committee to be doing, because they are appointed by the council, and I don't know what they've been charged with, per se, and what their guidelines of what they're supposed to be doing, but they have, $17 million to build something. We should have some say in that as well. And when we have constituents reaching out to us, and again, we didn't really, Chris Fowler and myself couldn't be on that building committee. It's just frustrating, especially once I was already on the planning committee. I heard from so many residents why we needed a new library, and about books or just computers now. It's a community center. So I just think that, again, us as a council, I think we should be having this tough discussion and maybe giving the building committee more guidance and having a vote here at the council level, charging them in what direction we want them to be heading in. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, let's move on. Apple Harvest Festival.
Yes, we had a meeting last Wednesday, November 9th. Not a lot of action at that meeting. Tom and I hopefully will be able to present a budget either in December or probably January because there's still some outstanding factors. So there's no budget to present yet. The official business was we accepted the dates for the 2023 festival, September 29th, September 30th, October 1st, and then October 6th, 7th, and 8th. So mark your calendars now, and we're already planning for next year's Apple Harvest Festival.
And the weather looks good those weekends.
More than this year.
And Chris, this year, was it profitable for the Apple Harvest Festival?
We don't
You don't know yet?
Right. January. We're
We'll know in January.
first meeting in January is what our
Yeah.
goal is.
But right now, we did have to close a day, and it was.
Yeah,
school,
that's
so
fine.
we don't-
That's fine. We have time. I just, it's always exciting when we see how much people have supported it
Right.
and also enjoyed it. I mean, it's really quite wonderful. Thank you so much. Sewer Committee.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Again, I always love following up after Apple Harvest with sewer. So we had a brief meeting and a briefing from the town attorney on the warranty issue regarding some contractor work at the plant. I took it as a positive. If town attorney wants to talk about it later, he can, which is good news. And then we got an update on our pump stations. And one thing that stuck out, kind of from an economic level, was that, so we still have global supply chain issues. So we have a generator for one of our pump stations that's 42 to 48 weeks out. And I still find that, plus 3 years almost after COVID, that we still have global supply chain issues. So talk to town staff about it, but there's nothing we can do at our level. So unless Val has anything else, that was really.
No, just we always have good meetings. But no, thanks, Bill.
It always seems like it's a fun committee for some reason.
We have snacks and waters.
Next time I want to serve. Okay. Any other committees that wish to make a report? Hearing none, we'll just move on. Town manager's report, please. Mr. Town Manager.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
We had actually one of the shortest Board of Finance meetings with less than a half hour. That's great news. So there's really two items I just need to discuss. The first one is very good news. Currently, we're $761,000 above our budgeted amount for revenue. That, of course, will fluctuate throughout the year, but this is a good place to be this into the budget. The only thing of consequence that we did is we added an approval for the Eagle fence for the fencing at Recreation Park around the fields. As you know, we just discussed it. Some of those fences, and I'm looking at Val because she and I coached many times over there. Those fences need to be replaced. They're in dangerous condition. So that's what's happening there. Happy to answer any questions you have on that. It was a short meeting, but things went well.
Yes,
Madam
thank
Chair,
you.
not a
Micah.
question, but I spoke with the town manager today about a
Please.
question with regards to some funding for the fire department, for the fire station. And the town manager explained that those aren't actually, even though they're expenses, but those items were reimbursed to town. There were two.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
what happens is that, as you know, the police officers, you'll see it more at the police department, but a third-party contractor will come in and say, I need your services for this. The fire department doesn't have it very often, but every once in a while you'll see it. An event takes place at, say, Lake Compounds was one of them, and they need a either fire engine, fire truck, or possibly even just firemen to go there for that. So we had two events in the last couple of months where it was a third party asked for the fire department to be there. They pay the town. We then reimburse back to the salary line item for the fire department. So it's very similar to what we do for special duty for the police.
Thank you, Madam.
Yeah, I think that was very important just to get on the record because others perhaps would have that question. Go ahead, Tom.
Same thing. Thank you, Madam Chair. I would just request that, I think in the minutes it said that there was a memo prepared by the finance director that outlined the overtime hours by department. But in the actual Board of Finance minutes, the memo, it referenced that the finance director created a worksheet, but I didn't see the worksheet in the actual minutes. So if possible, can you just add that in to make it a little bit more complete?
It'll be in next month's minutes, obviously. Because
Yeah, that's fine.
that's the OT worksheet.
Yep.
Any other
Thank you.
questions?
Anybody else?
This is
ahead.
this is actually one of the nicer things I get to do. Nicole, you want to come up, please? Nicole Kent is the president of our largest union in town, and I just wanted to bring her up because people always look at management and union being always, at loggerheads. Does it happen? Sure, it does happen occasionally, but I do say that we had a relatively pleasurable last couple of months working out the union contract. And I want to congratulate Nicole and her entire executive staff. I believe you had 4 or 5 members of your executive staff. They did a wonderful job. Obviously, management did a wonderful job too. But that being said, let me just talk about the fact that there wasn't a lot of changes in it. The biggest thing we talk about is wages, because as you know, things are fluctuating like crazy. But I know that the union and the town looked at it and said, we want to stay within our means and within the state averages. And I congratulate the union for not coming in with these outrageous numbers. And we all agreed to go with the state average. So if you look at it, over a 4-year contract, it's going to be the state average of 2.31. But the first 3 years will be 2.4, and year number 4 will be 2.0. We are maintaining our insurance, which is, we have the HSA. We're going to stay at the 2220, which is obviously if you get your physicals, it's a 20%. If you don't get your physicals, you and your family members, it goes up 22% of your premium share. So once again, I'll happy to answer any questions, but congratulations to you and your staff. You did a great
Yeah,
job. with
Nicole, I
negotiations.
just want to say something too, and I want you to bring it to the membership, and that is, we certainly appreciate appreciate all of their work all of the time. And our town employees are amazing. And I'm always so pleased when I see how hard they're working, and we couldn't ask for better. And in this negotiation, I want to thank you personally because you were the spearhead of it all, but also the members who were willing to follow your lead. And it makes a huge difference for Southington, and it just reinforces my gut feeling about them, how wonderful they really are. So I would ask you to please bring that back to the membership, and I want to thank you personally on behalf of the council, on behalf of the entire town. Thank you, Nicole.
And then her and the other departments of the library have been carrying me the last 6 weeks, so thank you very much. Okay, any other
Thank you,
questions on
Nicole.
that?
Mark, can I just, a quick question on the library museum hours? So how are those changing?
The
Are
library-
they changing?
Yeah, they did. They changed from, it used to say 9 o'clock at one time.
Yeah.
The library board changed that to 8 o'clock, so we wanted to codify that in the union contract. So that's what changed on that.
So the library will open at 8 o'clock?
No, it closed at 8 o'clock.
Oh, 8 o'clock,
Usually from 9 to 9, now it's 9 to 8.
not to 8.
That was codified by the board probably a year ago, but the union contract didn't jive with what the board's decision was.
So this is just
We're jiving it, yep.
linking it up, okay.
Unfortunately, I have to give to you the snow bids. I know that probably we're all in shorts over the weekend and freezing our tails off today, but we're going to do what we normally do. There's going to be three separate actions you'll need to take under the bottom part of your agenda. But we're going to do what we normally do, which is we're going to accept all the bids, work them in reverse order, except for one bid. I'm not going to say their name, but we're just going to say that that particular one did not meet the bid qualifications because they asked for a minimum, and we don't give minimums out for that. So that being said, when you do make your motions on each one, I would simply just say that as presented by by either me or the Public Works Director.
Yep.
Very good.
Happy to answer questions on that.
Any questions?
The next one is a request by the fire department. The second floor of the headquarters station does not have air conditioning. So we have the inspection division up there. So what we asked to do is we asked them to figure out what they needed. And in this particular case, they're looking at the split system, which is the most beneficial system for them. We're asking that Ductworks out of Southington be awarded the contract for $20,419. You happy to answer any questions on that?
Hearing none?
Okay, now the next one needs a little bit of, because some of you weren't on the council when we did this, but several years ago, I spoke with the council, and for budget reallocation, what we wanted to do is, in this building, there's still one area of the building that's not occupied. If you go downstairs, all the way past the engineering, there's the old boiler room, which doesn't even, obviously we have modern systems here. So now that we own the building, what we want to do is, we've already have the money allocated through budget reallocation, is we want to take the asbestos out of there and the boilers out of there. And then the second phase will come to you, is we're actually going to use it for usable space, whether it be office space or storage space, probably office space because we can use that. So this is the first step in that. We're asking that you award that to Hasbro Inc. For $38,000. Actually, I take that back. There's a contingency in there for 41.8, and the other one is the contingency is there for 22,461 for Ductworks. So when you give your motion, it'd be as presented.
Okay.
Happy to answer any questions on that.
Madam Chair?
Sure.
So I just got a question. So we just purchased this building. I'm just curious why this wasn't taken care of before it was purchased. Or did we know about this when we purchased?
We absolutely knew about it, and we knew that if we bought the building, we were eventually going to have to do that. But at the time we purchased the building, that was not part of the agreement,
Okay, thank you.
and we didn't want to spend town money until we actually bought the building.
Thank you.
Next one is Adam Tiff, who's, as you know, he's presented to you before. He is our energy consultant, and he has some ideas for us on possibly trying to save the town some money. So, Adam, I think you've already presented to this board, so they know you, but step right up. Are you gonna need the screen? Okay, because they also have your handout too.
If you have
so-
the handout, that's fine. I can just speak to the
Okay.
handout too. Do it from memory. Nice to see everybody again. I presented in front of some of you, but not all of you. So some of you are new faces, but nice to see some familiar ones too. So there's really two items within that packet. I'll take it, sure. Why not? Just- The first topic was something that originated before Titan came back in the role of energy consultant for the town. So I was asked to step in and evaluate, just to make sure that the idea was sound and that the financial benefits for the town would make sense. The overview of that project: there's a large scale solar development in town on East Street, owned and operated by a company called Vergy. And this is an operational solar array currently producing power that was accepted into the virtual net metering program, like the original virtual net metering program, which, for those, just a little bit of context, is a program that originated a few years ago. It was full. There was no more funds in the program, but the utilities uncovered some unspent dollars within the program. So they opened up the provisional virtual net metering program to let in additional projects that might be operational that would want to use the mechanism of virtual net metering to help towns benefit from these projects. So this was an existing project that got led into the provisional VNM program. And they had some energy credits that they could allocate to town accounts. The town has had experience with virtual net metering in the past. The anaerobic digester is a virtual net meter project. So basically what happens is energy assets, whether they're anaerobic digesters or solar fields, they create energy, the utility buys the energy, and then they convert that into a dollar credit that they can then allocate towards Eversource bills. And what ends up happening is it's basically a dollar credit that you get on your bill. You turn around and you pay for that credit at a discount to its value. And then you get to keep the difference. So if you get a $100 credit and pay $85 for it, you've effectively earned 15. So it's really a way, a public policy measure that the state created to give towns, because there's specific carve-outs for municipalities, to give towns access to these types of projects that they really wouldn't be able to access any other way. In this particular case, with the array on East Street, Vergy had about 1.5 million kilowatt hours of energy that is being created every year that can be converted to credits and distributed to the Board of Education. There's 5 accounts that they can take. The terms of the deal, it's a 12.5% discount to the value of the credit. So that's a fixed discount, wouldn't change. There's no opportunity or way for the town to be paying more for a credit than it's worth. It really is just one more tool in our tool belt to be able to help the town lower their energy costs.
You explain why we're using BOE accounts as opposed to government side accounts?
Yeah. So in the provisional virtual net metering program, you're only allowed to pick 5 accounts. So when we went through, my understanding of this, because this was something that I stepped into, was the accounts that were the best fit for the project were 5 that were identified for the Board of Ed. Lots of the accounts in town, a lot of the big ones are spoken for already. They receive credits already from the anaerobic digester. So it really kind of forced us to look to the BOE for credits under the rules of the old program. Just so everybody knows, if they want a little bit more of a pictorial explanation of how virtual net metering works, because I understand it's a little bit of a tricky concept to map out in your mind if you've never heard about it before. But the next page really just shows kind of a sequence of events of how this all works. So the solar energy is created, goes back to the power grid. The utility then converts that into a dollar credit that gets distributed across bills. And it's meant to mirror the financial benefit as if the system were physically connected to the location that's receiving the credits, hence the virtual and the virtual net metering. And then the town/Board of Ed in this case, would pay for those credits at a 12.5% discount. And the savings on that's roughly $25,000 a year. So we didn't originate this deal, but we did have a chance to review it.
you know, I always recommend to municipal clients that we work with, if there are projects out there that are creating credits under the old program, it makes sense to try to take them where you can. There's no cost to participate.
Madam Chair, can I ask a question?
Yes.
Yeah.
Excuse us one
Just have
second.
one quick question. I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just want to make sure I understand this. So what if we said no? What if we said we're not interested in purchasing the credits? Where would they sell the credits to if Sellington says no?
Another municipality.
So another municipality would be the bidder. Would they get the same discount rate, or is it?
Yeah, so this is, my understanding is that they went to the town first because the array is located in town.
Right.
So, I don't know if you want to call that a courtesy or what, but I think that's what their thinking was, because
That's why I'm asking you. Is it a courtesy that we get the chance essentially to bid first?
Yeah, I mean, these accounts, by the virtue of the virtual net metering rules, they can go to any municipality as long as they're in Eversource territory.
I have a question. Can you, my understanding is we have like 4 or 5 accounts in Southington, right? And I think they're all allocated to BOE. The latest, the latest solar field, the one on East Street that you mentioned from Verigy, that's the newest one as far as what hits our budget, if you will, for this upcoming cycle. Can you tell me what is the impact that the discount is going to provide? I see 25,000 on here. Is that 25,000 overall for all 4 accounts, or what is that for? I'm interested to know what the benefit is for the East Street parcel that Verigy's offering this year, because that's a change for us year over year.
So if I understand the question correctly, I don't know if there's any other financial arrangement between the town and Verigy with this array. I know with the credits that are available that can go to those 5 accounts, the round number snapshot here is there's about $210,000 of credits. Those are going to cost about $185,000 a year, and that delta's $25,000. The rest of the credits from this particular array have already been allocated to other municipalities. So, and I know that Verigy, would have, I'm not exactly sure who owns the parcel, but Verigy would have, land lease agreement with the owner of the parcel. So those would really be the primary pieces of the financial puzzle for the project. If that makes sense, if I'm answering the question.
I'm not 100% sure that I understand. You might be answering. Maybe the town manager knows. Do you know, Mark, what's the benefit going to be for the East Street Solar to the town of Southington? Whether it's the Board of Ed, right?
Based on Adam's comments, it's $25,000 a year
25,000 a year
in cost avoidance, yes.
in cost of, right? Because we're buying the credit at a discount is basically what's
They're buying
happening.
the credits at a discount.
Thanks.
So $25,000 a year.
So we should see a favorable cost avoidance this upcoming budget cycle of 25,000.
Can't speak for the
Roughly.
I can't speak for the
Board of Ed.
budget, but yes.
Okay, and we have to manage and track that, because we also, it shouldn't be free money, right? So we should make sure that if there's a favorable variance there, that's also captured. It doesn't mean that we should be spending 25,000 more. We should be passing that along to the residents. So if we can just keep on that as we go through the budget cycle, I'd appreciate it.
And can I ask a quick question? So is
Yeah.
this something that would be renewed every year?
It's a 20-year agreement.
What's a 20-year agreement?
Yeah. So you would be entitled to this benefit for a 20-year period.
And that's something that then it's an agreement. The town attorney will review the agreement?
Yeah, it's similar to our, we as Adam mentioned, we have one with the digester off of, I believe that's off of DePaulo Drive. We have a 20-year agreement, it's probably at least 8 or 9 years old now. Works the same way. That one there, we have a couple of town accounts, and I think we have one or possibly 2 BOE accounts on that one. As you know, we put a couple of systems in at Water Pollution Control. That's covered by some virtual net metering, but also it's covered by the, we just put in the hydrogen fuel cell. So that's also covered under that. So that being said, it's all taxpayer money, so it doesn't make any sense using any town accounts. They have to be DOE accounts to get the best bang for your buck.
Thank you.
So general timeline of events to capture this. There's an agreement, an Eversource agreement, that the town would need to review and execute ideally by the end of this month. Basically, that just tells Eversource that the town is interested in being an off-taker for this project. The second step from there would be to execute the credit purchase agreement with Verigy. Again, doing that by the end of this year would free up the credits to begin flowing in February, because again, this array is already built. Typically, when the arrays aren't built, you have 18 to 24 month lead time until you start seeing that benefit. But this is it's basically there already for the
And also the superintendent and Mr. Romano are both very aware of it. And are if the council's in favor of it, they're certainly in favor of it.
The other item of business I wanted to mention while I was here was that Titan is we're in the process of developing 2 arrays on the Weston and the Wilton capped landfills that are going to be under the new program, which is similar to the virtual net metering, but different in a few key ways. One of those ways is that we're not limited to just picking 5 accounts, so we're kind of freed up as to where we can allocate some of these credits or dollars. And those projects are actually going to have a little bit of excess that both towns can't absorb. So since I work with Southington and I know that this is on people's minds right now, I figured I would open the opportunity if the town of Southington wanted to participate in those projects. There's an additional 10,000 or so, give or take, of value there that some municipality can take. So that could go directly to the town. That doesn't have to go to the Board of Ed. So I just wanted to make folks aware that those projects are in the preliminary stages of development. So they're probably about 18 months out. But I do need to find an off-taker for them. So I figured I'd mention that while I was here today.
Madam Chair, just a quick, is it maybe to the town attorney or the town manager, is there any negative to purchasing the credits? Is there any downside or risk?
I'll ask Adam, because I asked Adam that question too, so he can answer the question. He'll give you the same answer he gave me.
Yeah, so it's all about how the deals are structured. If you have a fixed discount, you've insulated yourself from there being an inversion of the credit value to the credit cost. I mean, I've seen some deals get structured in ways that maybe towns try to take on a little bit more risk with saying, hey, we don't need a fixed discount, we'll take a fixed price. And if the credit value goes up or down, we're okay, taking on some of that risk. And if there's a difference, then we assume eventually it'll correct itself because energy costs rise over time. So there are different ways that you can structure these deals. But if you do it in a conservative way where you have a fixed discount, there is no way you can lose money. And what I try to remind people is because half of the battle here, I think, for most developers in this market is overcoming that objection of you want to give me free money. Everybody just sort of, hits the pause button when they hear that. Which is understandable. But the reason that these programs were created in the first place is it's the way I describe it to people. It's a public policy creation so that municipalities can be beneficiaries of these projects. So all of the gains aren't strictly held by the private developers and the landowners. So the rule is if you want to build projects and use these programs, you have to share some of these benefits with certain groups. Municipal, state, agriculture, those are kind of the 3 primary that get carved out. So it's what I just remind people is, these programs are here to help you participate in ways, because a lot of these projects end up being property, there's rules around property taxes that kind of generally forbid towns from property tax on these. So it's another way in a roundabout way to help towns get some benefit. There's only so many of these projects to go around, and there's more demand than there's supply. So anytime you can get a good project, it usually makes sense to do it.
Thanks, Adam.
Would anybody like to ask any questions while we have Adam here? I think you were pretty thorough.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Just stick around, Adam, in case during the vote there's any more questions. Okay.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, if there's no more questions for Adam, I do have something that is very valuable for me. I thank, obviously, Mr. Palmera and you, Madam Chair, for serving on the board that did all the interviews. We spent, I think, almost a year, if I remember, looking for the right person, and who knew that it was going to be the person right to my left. But I'm happy to announce that starting December 5th, Alex Ricardone, Attorney Alex Ricardone will be the corporate counsel for the town of Southington. Congratulations, Alex.
10 minutes.
We do have executive session tonight for our hypertension, and I see Attorney Sheppy in the audience, and he promises to be brief, less than 2 hours.
Congratulations, Alex. All right, now for your official duty, you're on for the Fair Rent Commission, Alex.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just briefly, you've been presented what I'll call final draft Fair Rent Commission ordinance document. It's in front of you. Action this evening under I, I'm going to be asking for consensus to send that out to outside counsel to review, to make a determination if, in their opinion, they feel that the proposed ordinance is balanced and reasonable for tenants and landlords. I propose need about 2 weeks maximum on that, and after that comes back, I'll be able to report back to the council. You can schedule for a public hearing and then for a final vote if there's no substantive changes.
So may I just clarify? So you expect that you would get an answer back after council has reviewed it
Correct.
within 2 weeks?
Approximately 2 weeks.
Approximately 2 weeks. So do you want to wait to schedule the public hearing, our only meeting in December now?
I propose scheduling the public hearing for December 12th.
That's our
One
only
public
meeting,
hearing, so
right?
You would schedule that at your next meeting.
Yep.
Oh, at the next meeting,
Because that
we'll
way,
do it
that
at
way
the
you can get it
12th,
back from
to
the
make sure
attorney
it
and
comes
be
back.
sure.
Because
All
there
right,
could
well, we
be-
can
there
wait to
could
do
be a
that.
slight
Is that
chance
all right with
there's-
everybody?
Yeah,
Could
can
be
I,
something that comes back. I don't want you to have a.
that we have to make
That we
changes?
already
I don't
have
want you to
something.
schedule a meeting,
Yeah, I
have people
agree.
come out, and then all of a sudden I say, oop, we got to
We
put
have to
the
make
brakes on and
changes.
go back.
I agree.
And
Everybody else?
just a question for procedural.
Go ahead.
Do we want to talk details about this now, or do we want to wait until Madam Chair, do we want to talk? Because we may want to have some final,
I just have
And
I just have a few very minor,
You talk about that in old business, it's not under.
Old
not under this
It's on there,
report,
it's on there
right,
for
okay.
okay, thanks.
Anything else?
Nothing else. Thank you.
Okay. Very good. Any questions to the town attorney, please? No. Okay, very good. We are going to open up public communication at this point. We ask you to come forward, give your name and address, and we're here to listen and see what you have to say.
Dave Delory, 43 Riverside Drive. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. Thank you for your service and for moving the Fair Rent Commission. So we're doing it quickly. I only have one other question. This is a question, and this just came to my attention within the last couple hours. Do you guys know what's going on at 111 Spring Street? We have a couple of residents on the east side of Cedar Springs, and they back up to whatever project's going on behind BJ's. And I looked it up online today, and it's 111 Spring Street. It's owned by somebody named Senco LLC, which is apparently Calco Construction out of Farmington. They've
111 Spring
apparently,
Street?
apparently been in the past an approval for some sort of recycling activity there.
Second.
I don't know whether that's still, that those approvals are still in effect, but I'm wondering, what we're hearing is that, I can hear it from where I live, I can hear it. There are residents on the other side of the river from me who feel vibrations in their homes whenever they're doing whatever they're doing over there. It sounds like rock processing or something. And they're saying that I have two different residents who say that they've had cracks in the sheetrock in their homes. That's all I know. Just wondering if anybody has any heads up, I can tell them something.
I
We'll have to check on it, but that's the property I think about. That was approved for a place called Turning Earth. They were going to be doing some reclamation aspects of it, but I think in this particular case, they chose not to move forward.
Yeah.
Calco Construction does own that property, so we'll have to check with zoning enforcement to see.
Yeah, I was going to say, it seems like there's something that's producing from where I live, and it's not all the time, a significant sound, but these people on the other side of the river are saying it's actually rattling their homes when they're doing whatever they're doing. I just want to see if they've got a permit for whatever they're doing.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Interesting.
Good evening. Good evening. My name is Bill Majak. I live at 2 Meadow Road in Cedar Springs East. And regarding what Dave just said, I hear the noise throughout the day. My house does not feel the vibrations, but the neighbors have told me that they could hear dishes rattle, and they're doing some kind of site work.
What's your address, sir? Sorry.
2 Meadow Road.
2 Meadow Road.
Yes, sir. And they're doing some kind of site work, and sometimes it's even on weekends. It's like they're crushing stone or some kind of it's very loud. And just a little bit early at the beginning of the evening, I Googled it. And originally there was going to be some kind of a food processing or food
Turning
recycling
Earth,
facility. Yeah. Now what I saw is there's a plan to put up a large industrial warehouse there, up to 200,000 square feet. That's what I saw when I went online. And I Googled 111, Spring Street, and I saw a proposal or some developer is planning to put up a 200,000 square foot industrial warehouse. And there was a rendering of the warehouse that I saw. And so I just wondering, is there something that can be done
Well, if
that they can minimize?
say is if it's moving forward, the board we'd be going to be Planning and Zoning Commission. But
Okay.
like I said, at this point, I don't know enough to even talk about what you're
Okay.
talking about. So.
But if it's something you folks can look
Yeah, but,
into,
but
I
I would
appreciate it.
advise you to keep looking on the town website for planning and zoning applications. They meet the first and third Tuesday of every month. And they
Okay.
put the agenda right on there. And the agenda will be the name of the property owner, plus the address, plus what the person is requesting of the Planning and Zoning Commission. So keep your eye on that one also.
Will do. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I hope it gets better. Anyone else? Thank you.
Good evening, Victoria Reed, 105 Claudia Drive. This evening, I want to bring to your attention my concerns regarding library building committee meetings. The seating arrangement at these meetings places members of the building committee with their backs to the public. When building committee members raise questions to either the architectural firm or the engineering firm, members of the public cannot hear the questions. I presented this concern at the last meeting, and the committee members shared, saying, "We have heard this before. There is nothing we can do. We cannot get microphones." That's an end quote. That, to me, is an unacceptable response. In addition, the visual data presented needs to be legible from where the public sits. Public meetings should be accessible to everyone. Members of the town with a visual or hearing impairment would find these meetings extremely challenging. The meeting layout as it now exists prevents residents from fully participating in the process. The decisions building committee members make must be available to the public during the meetings. A few simple changes by the building committee will make the meetings accessible to everyone. And lastly, I'd like to follow up with Councilor Palmieri's suggestion on perhaps doing a referendum so that the library could go back to the size that most residents, that at least that I've spoken to, would like to see. And that's the 30,000 square feet.
Thank you very much. The chairman of the building committee is right here, and I saw him taking notes, so I'm sure we're gonna figure something out for the meeting at least. Thank you. Hang on
me.
one second, Richard,
Oh, sorry.
okay?
I'm sorry.
No, you're all right. I wanted to hear Councilman Palmieri.
Is it possible, I mean, I know, I get it, it's a library project, but is it possible to have the meetings here or in council chambers?
Check,
There are microphones.
yeah, I know. We checked those locations. They're all busy during that time period. So we're looking at,
Even council chambers?
Yeah.
The former council?
yeah, that's the, the committees meeting there, whether it be the Parks and Rec or they have self-insurance on Wednesdays. So we checked the schedule. What we're probably going to look at is downstairs in the library and just flip it around. We tried to meet upstairs because it's a little nicer up there. But we'll have to start going downstairs in the library. So it works like this room. Well, it's like this room right over
Right,
there.
right.
So it's very similar.
Police.
That was busy too, I think.
That was busy? Wow.
So I think the comment's very valid. I've been at those meetings, and it's very difficult to hear.
I just came from the library board meeting. It's the same situation. So if you have something upstairs in the library, it's going to be like that.
Yeah.
So we'd have to move downstairs. So it's not as attractive if you've been down in the room downstairs in the
Right.
basement,
It's
but
just a
that's the
room
best
with a-
place to go at this
Well, I'm sure the chairman and town
point.
manager.
Actually, it's on our agenda to discuss at our next meeting on Wednesday.
Very good.
Location meeting.
Very good. Thank you.
My apologies.
Thank you. Thank you, Richard.
That's totally okay. Richard Cooper, 79 Barbara Lane. So just before I forget, I think the library should be open Saturday and Sundays, and that it should also offer programs on those days. Just for the record. So just want to talk a minute about kind of me, I guess, personally, why I come to these meetings. So just to generally state that I've always cared, for whatever reason, about institutions, local, state, and federal. I can't explain to you why. I'm just wired this way, to care about public politics and culture. As a kid, I was someone who always looked up to politicians, especially the ones who talked about how they would help the world. Of course, well, as an adult, my perception has changed, but that's for another comment. I don't really have heroes, but I do have people I admire. I've always admired people who had the courage to fight the good fight, to assemble A-plus teams by working together and putting aside differences to do those things, to maximize the to maximize benefits for as many people as possible. And I've also always admired people who had the courage to stand up for people who need an advocate in this world. I understand that my political philosophies probably differ greatly from most people who sit up here, and that's fine. But I do believe government should be used to protect and provide liberty. It should interfere as a referee when something unfair is going on. So, for example, I do think a fair rent commission is a good idea. I know money and power is the reason that most people get into politics, but I wish it wasn't that way. I don't think it should be that way. Look, I was writing the Board of Education, I think it was a few days ago, and I realized I was going down this rabbit hole again of a place that I just didn't want to be. About, what I felt was really messed up on May 27th, 2021. But I did promise myself this was the last time I would ever talk about it, because I never did come here and publicly talk about it or defend myself. So I just wanted to give all of you the mindset that I had when going back on that day when I emailed the institution, right? Because minutes don't have to include public comments, and they definitely don't have to be as specific as they were that day. But you know what? I'm over it. That day certainly does not define me, but I did realize that thinking about it, I have to let it go. But that brings me, so I'm skipping a whole bunch of stuff that I was going to say, and I'm just going to skip right to this. Social media groups, especially ones like Southington Talks, are essentially public squares. It may or may not presently be directly sponsored or affiliated with the town, but that doesn't mean it doesn't play a major role in our local politics. I'm not standing up here to argue that it is affiliated with the town. Mm-hmm. And that you guys, have any sort of explanation that you have to give to me. I feel bad that you guys got the brunt of, all my issues last year, but, so just, and you know what, just because something isn't a violation of the town ethics code doesn't mean it's not morally unethical. And I'm not saying anyone up here is morally unethical, but I just, That's it. That's all I have to say. But, you know, if anyone wants to know why I'm angry all the time or that I seem angry all the time, it's because I do not buy into cynicism or nihilism, but I occasionally flirt with those things and I go back and forth. But at the end of the day, I'm not okay with the way, I'm not okay with shrugging my shoulders when I see great, you know, what seems like the world falling apart sometimes. I'm not okay with the way that Southington sometimes, I feel that Southington sometimes kind of sweeps issues under the rug at Alta High School or Karen Smith Academy or whatever it's called nowadays. And I'm not okay with shrugging my shoulders as the presence of Narcan in public schools becomes normalized. Thank you. That's all I.
Susan Zabahansky, Working Street in Plantsville. Richard, I just want to say, well, to the council that this is the forum for holding our elected officials accountable, and that's part of what a representative government is. So I applaud you for coming up and giving your opinion. I want to bring up something that's been bothering me. I keep watching these meetings and I keep hearing about this library and the fact that we sold someone a square footage. That is not what we sold someone, and we should have never done that because it was very clear from the get-go that prices of building materials were going up. And so I don't know who is at fault for doing that, but that should have never been presented to the public because the question on the referendum ballot was, shall the town of Southington appropriate $16.9 million for construction of a new library facility at 255 Main Street, demolition of the existing facility and related site improvements, and authorizing the issuance of $16.9 million bonds and notes to finance the appropriation. So, you know, politically, many people push the idea of this glorious library to people to get their vote on the referendum, and that was wrong. That should have never been done because it was a dollar amount, and yes, it was based on an idea that gave us an approximate, but now this is what you took to the voters. And the referendum question about the fields just shows you where the voters in this town stand. I mean, we can't keep expecting to put the burden of these expenses on the taxpayer. And so, I mean, if you take it back to referendum, it's pretty likely it's not going to pass. I mean, that's just my opinion, just with the way the economy's going. I also want to say that I'm here in support of Patricia Tavalosi, who I believe I would like to see appointed to the Disability Commission. Her resume speaks for itself. She's a nurse who is currently, for the past 2 years, worked with the DDS in regional nurse case management for intellectual and physically disabled individuals in Connecticut communities. She's managed healthcare as well as community services for the individuals in that care. The benefits of having someone like her, she's worked with the DDS to manage these individual care people, in helping them to stay in their homes, helping them to get back into the environment, the family environment instead of institutions. So I feel that organizationally, she'll have those connections that can benefit the town. And I hope you guys will consider her. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak this evening? Okay, I'm going to close council matter communications. I'm sorry, public communications. Your mind just goes away for a minute. That's all right. So I'd like very much to start old business, please. As soon as you did good, evidently, Richard. I mean, he doesn't share them with everybody.
Keep going.
Okay, so as soon as Mr. Chaplinsky decides to join us again, I think he's making enough friends out there. So.
Okay, Madam Chair, I would like to make a motion to approve the report from the Board of Finance.
Second, Madam Chair.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on it? Hearing none. Madam Clerk, would you call the roll?
Lombardi,
Yes.
Morelli,
Yes.
Palmieri,
Yes.
Perry, Yes. Chaplinsky.
Yes.
Del Santo.
Yes.
DiPaolo.
Yes.
Dietzick.
Yes.
Triano.
Yes. Item D, action on the municipal employees union contract.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Thank you. Any discussion on this matter? Once again, I just want to thank our town employees for stepping up. Let's call a roll on this also, if that's all right.
Lombardi.
Yes.
Morelli.
Yes.
Palmieri.
Yes.
Harry.
Yes.
Chaplinsky.
Yes.
Del Santo.
Yes.
DiPaolo.
Yes.
Dietzick.
Yes.
Triano.
Yes. Item C, action on recommendation for snow plowing equipment for streets and parking lot. The first one's item C.
Motion to approve.
So move, Madam Chair.
Second.
As presented by the Public Works Director.
Yeah,
right?
thank you so much, Val,
Second.
and seconded by Paul right over here. Any discussion on this matter?
Madam Chair?
Yes, go ahead, Jack.
I probably should have mentioned it earlier when Mark was doing his items here. I look at the bid specs, and I would love to work with Mark's office or with Nat in kind of modernizing our bids that go out. They're very vague, and when we're approving all these contractors, at that point, we're giving free rein. And I look at the specifications on here. There's not like a requirement of model years of some of the equipment. And some of the equipment, just like anything, it's like a computer from the 90s and a computer from today. The performance is totally different. So when I'm looking at this spec, and there's dollar amounts on some of these equipment, and some of them are listing their models and what they are. Some are going to outperform. So when you look at the hourly rate and what a machine can do that is 20 years old versus a brand new machine is night and day. So again, it's sometimes you may think you're saving $10, but we're spending more. So I'd like to see these bid specs in the future be a little bit modernized and kind of brought up to par, and maybe look at other municipalities, because again, over the years I bid a lot of stuff, and I just think we could do better on our specs.
Thank you, Jack.
Thank you.
You know what we can do, if you would, I'd like you to contact Public Works, and so we'll start there, and then from there, they've.
I'll start with Mark's
Actually,
office.
Madam Chair,
Yeah.
Jack and I talk quite often, so he could start with my office on that.
Yeah, I
Oh,
just
all
don't
right.
want to circumvent Mark.
Yeah, no, I don't either, but I just wanted to keep it in
Yeah,
the
it'd be
right
easier if we-
flow.
we have
But you
a flow that way,
already,
yeah.
okay, very
Thank
good.
you.
Then that's all set. Thank you very much. But we do have a motion and a second on the floor. Is there any discussion on item C? Hearing none, all those who are in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Okay, carries unanimously. Item D, same motion.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to approve as stated by the town manager.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on it? Hearing none, would you call the motion, please? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That's unanimous. Item E, action on the recommendation for snow removal. May I have a motion?
Motion to approve is presented.
Chris
Second.
and Paul. Any question on this one? Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Action on recommendation of Ductworks for fire headquartered ductless split system.
Motion to approve. As presented.
Okay,
Second, Madam
motion,
Chair.
second, discussion? You have a discussion?
Nope, I don't.
Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It passes unanimously. Action on the recommendation of Hasbro's Incorporated for Municipal Center Boiler Room Abatement.
So moved, Madam Chair.
I hear that. Thank you,
Second.
Val. And Paul seconds it. Any question on this item? Any discussion?
That's also as presented. in the-
As
Presented,
presented,
yes.
yes. Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, it passes unanimously. Item H, action on virtual net metering agreement and solar credits.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank
I'll
you,
second,
Tom.
Madam Chair.
And thank you, Tom. Any question on that? Yes, go ahead.
I just
Tom.
wanted to thank Adam Tiff or Teff. Teff. It is Teff. Okay, Adam Teff from Titan. He's done a really good job over the years on presenting information and keeping the council updated on how things are running. So I'm glad that he's back working with the town, and appreciate the efforts on all involved with this.
Very good. Well, let's move the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Is there any opposition? Very well. It passes unanimously. Thank you, and thank you, Adam, very much. Item I, action on Fair Rent Commission.
Madam Chair, if I may, just say a
Yes,
couple words.
yeah.
And then then ask Val to also, because I think you have some items. The ultimate goal on this, Madam Chair, is we'd like to, at the end of this, get a consensus that we can have the town attorney review this with outside counsel so that we can ensure that what we've put together here is, sound and meets the litmus test from an outside agency to do a third-party review. I wanted to thank Val and the rest of the council. Everybody had an opportunity and gave many different comments over the last, however long it's been, month and a half or two that we've been working on this. We've done several iterations of this, and Val and I have received the input from each of you numerous times and aligned on this. I think we now have a document that is pretty much ready to go. Val's got a few questions that she would like to ask Alex to look at, but overall, my hope is that we as a council, if we can get through this, is that we as a council can align on this, and if this thing comes back with a positive recommendation, that we can all get behind this. That's the ultimate goal. So I'm hoping that we all can do that, and that's about it. We'll turn it over to Val.
Okay, thanks, Paul. And I would also, I would like to thank you, Paul, and the rest of the council for all the input. I think this has been really important. I want to obviously thank Dave and the residents from Sun Communities that came out and, pushed this along. The state of Connecticut, fair rent commissions have been around for a long time. So I do think it's something that our town needed. And if we can put something forward that's very balanced, I think it's only going to benefit our town. And Paul, thank you for working on this, for the phone calls. And so I have a few kind of like typos that I think are very quick. And then I just have a couple, two areas that I just wanted to see if we can discuss. So just by way of, I don't know, Paul, do you want to mark it down maybe, and then you can make the change?
Yeah, everybody's got a copy, yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
so in section 1B, just where it says equal number of appointed tenants, it doesn't need apostrophe S, so it should just be tenants
Oh, yeah.
with an S. And then in section 3(9), same thing, Paul, it should be tenants, because you want all the tenants that are listed on the lease. And in section C, so 3C, to aid in the commissions, so that would be apostrophe S.
Can we just take one and move it to the,
Yeah, just, and then commissions again there,
in the third line?
yes. And then section 4, D, same thing, just tenants.
Yeah.
And I think that's it on the typos. So there were just two, and then just two areas I just wanted to discuss. I know we spoke about the ex officio, and if you look up the definition of ex officio, it basically means by virtue of an office, right? By virtue of an office, you can be on this commission or on this board. The definition doesn't say that it's non-voting. And I know the standard tends to be when you hear ex officio, you tend to think non-voting. But a couple of the definitions pointed out that it really should be in the bylaws, that it's ex officio, it's a non-voting ex officio, because I don't want us to run into a situation where we have an ex officio member who might be a landlord or might be a tenant.
Yeah. So should
And
we,
would have, so just say, all we would have to say is shall be a non-voting
shall be a
ex
non-voting?
officio member.
Got it. Alex, and Val, if it's okay. Alex, I'm writing these down, but I'm assuming you have the master as well, because I sent it to you just before, earlier today. You'll make these changes? Okay, thanks. Val, thanks.
Could I ask
Okay.
for a change? I hate to do this. Could you change, well, I'd like to see, instead of town attorney, it should be corporate counsel, if you're going to be doing it this way now. Because now we have a corporate counsel,
Corporate
who's a
counsel.
town employee, as opposed to a political appointed. I think corporate counsel would be the ideal
Sure.
person for that.
Yep.
Fresh up. That's very.
So it should be the corporate counsel
But it's
or
just-
his or her designee.
Yeah, right.
Would you agree?
Non-voting ex officio.
Well, they're definitely
Right,
not voting.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah,
No, but I just, town attorney makes it harder because there's times there won't be a town attorney.
right.
You might be in between.
Might be in
town attorneys
between,
and whatever.
right.
But corporate counsel we
Okay.
hope to have forever.
I'm okay with that. Thank you.
Okay, and the second one is in section 7 on the judicial enforcement. And I think, Paul, when we talked about this, we were adding the ability for either party to a decision to be able to bring a civil action.
Are we looking at A, Val?
So looking at A. So we said any party to a commission decision, but I think we then took out, we're forgetting that the commission itself,
Any
Could
party
bring-
to a commission.
decision, we should add, or the commission itself, because we're adding that either party, a landlord or the tenant can bring an action, but this is a municipal order, and you don't want to take away the ability of the municipality to also possibly bring an action. Right?
That would only have to be for safety?
Well, no, this is for enforcement.
Oh, okay.
I think when we talked about enforcement, enforcement is, the reason that we left it open is we said that the municipality doesn't really have authority to do enforcement without further action. And if the municipality took a decision, and if it wasn't being followed, then that would be grounds for either party to take that to the court system and say, hey, I have a decision from the municipality. So when we had originally spoken, I think when we had originally talked about this, was that we were looking for the municipality to not be filing court orders for.
Right, but wouldn't you want, if you have a municipal order, and maybe I'm wrong on this, but if you have a municipal order, can't the municipality enforce that order? If it's not being followed? I feel like
I don't
you're
know what
taking
mechanism.
away from the commission.
Show me where.
Isn't that in B? Doesn't that give the power in B?
I'm talking about the commission itself being able
I
to,
thought, maybe I'm wrong, I thought it was the fact that the town would issue a decision, and if one side did that decision, that gives them the trigger to go to court, where they,
Exactly.
without the Fair Commission. Otherwise, the taxpayers will be bringing action, would have to be, they'd be funding the
action.
whole thing.
Right.
Because now what happens is if the landlord or tenant didn't agree with it, and we, being the taxpayer and my office, would have to defend or prosecute, not defend, prosecute it, because we have to bring it to court. That wasn't my understanding. My understanding was
That
to
was
give
the reason why we
ability-
kept it out.
Yeah,
Okay,
the
okay.
ability of either party
Okay.
to go to court, but not the town do it, because then it's on our responsibility.
And we
like
left
you're
it open
eliminating-
so that anybody
so
could do
that,
it.
so either, but it's only either party, not the commission
It's either
itself.
party, yep.
Okay, all right, okay. And the last one is if you go back to section 1B, where we talk about the 5 members. So I think our intent was, of the 5 regular members, we have 1 shall be a residential landlord, 1 shall be a residential tenant. We don't have language in here for the other 3. So do we want to say, I think our intent was the other 3 would be homeowners. They wouldn't be,
Residents of Southington.
well, they would be residents of Southington, but what if one's a landlord or what if one's a tenant? I think we want the other 3 to be not a landlord or a tenant.
Non-tenant and non-landlord residents.
Right, because you could run into a problem.
Is that
Stack it. You're
You could be
stacking
stacking,
landlords.
right?
Yeah.
And you,
agree?
okay.
That
Just- so
was
we
the
should have-
intent.
That was our intent, right?
What's the right way to word that?
You don't have to worry about it on fly.
Who is not a tenant, who is not a landlord?
You just simply say no more than 1 landlord and 1 tenant.
Yeah.
Of the
Already say that.
5.
We want
Of the
one.
5.
We want
No more
one
than-
landlord and 1 tenant only.
No more than.
No more than 1.
No more or no less than 1 landlord and 1 tenant.
could also mean zero.
No,
Or
no
no less.
more or no more and no less than one.
Yeah.
That's it.
Okay.
That's good.
Okay.
You guys, everybody's okay with that?
Sure.
Chris, you good?
Yes.
You guys good? You're good.
That it?
Good.
A lot of work.
Thank you.
I want to thank Paul and Val for working so hard on this, and also acknowledging the work of the entire council, I might add. It's been a long process. Check the minutes from the last meeting. And so we do have, I think, a very workable document in front of us moving forward, but I want to open it up for any discussion matters.
I just have an administrative question. So the vote right now is that we are acting to schedule a public hearing on.
No.
I think what we're going to do is we're going to table this after we get consensus to send it for referral by Alex.
So we're gonna make
We're
a
gonna put forth
motion
the document,
to
okay.
send it to outside.
For legal.
We don't need to vote
I
on
know,
it. You just want to get
consensus.
consensus, Madam Chair. As
Consensus,
long as
yeah.
everybody's in agreement, or
consensus.
most people are in
Yeah,
agreement.
we don't need
So
a,
how will you do that? You're going to question all of us, or just unless anyone has an objection?
Right.
I'm fine with it.
That's up to the chair.
Madam Chair, if that's
yeah,
okay with you.
I got it.
All right.
Okay, are we all set?
I just want to make one general
Yes,
comment.
thank
It's
you.
been bothering me this entire time. So, again, I think the public thinks that sometimes all we do is fight up here, but I don't think the public actually knows how much work went in behind the scenes between bipartisan work between Attorney DiPaolo. We're lucky to have an attorney here who's basically drafting this. Mr. Japlinski, who is probably as good as an attorney when it comes to drafting this. But what I don't understand is why the state thinks it's good to mandate upon unpaid volunteer counselors to draft this document we have in front of us. It's probably took 7-8 iterations, the hours, the man hours in this. And now you're going to have I know it's not 169 because certain towns don't fall the threshold. You have 169 different rental commissions. So as an attorney or anyone practicing in that area, you're going to walk in, every single different town is different. What this tells me is that the legislature is not making the hard decisions. It's making the localities and the local government make the hard decisions as unpaid individuals. So again, and this has been a trend. It was the same with marijuana. Go to referendum, do what you want to do. I do not like how they're legislating. And it's Republican, Democrat, whoever's voting for this. You know, it's unfair to us. We do not get paid. And the town of Sullyton's lucky that it has the resources on this council, for my opinion, to have a very, very professional draft of this document.
Thank you,
I agree.
Attorney Dietz. Okay, so I would just ask, is there a consensus on this council? Are the members of this council ready to send this document for an outside review?
Yes.
Are we feeling that? Feeling it? Anybody object to that? So I'm hearing that there is a consensus of all members to send it for.
Do not need a motion for that, Madam Chair?
No, we're not going,
Motion
we
to
just
table.
need
Then
a,
you will need a motion to table, correct.
Motion to table.
we're going to have a motion to table, but with the idea that we're going to send it out
It's out tomorrow.
to review. Okay.
I'll second the motion to table.
We have a motion to table this document on the record. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? It passes. Thank you, and it's going. Okay, thank you, everybody. All right, moving on. Item 9, new business, tax refunds.
I make a motion to approve our tax refunds that are presented in our packet.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? It passes unanimously. Thank you, Jack. Now we're moving on to B, the appointments. Item 1 is the Board of Assessment Appeals, 1 member for a 4-year term expiring in October 2026.
Madam Chair, I'd like to put forth the name of Jerry Bellinger for reappointment to the Board of Assessment Appeals for a term ending October 2026.
Second.
Thank you very much. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Thank you, everybody. Item 2, Commission for Persons with Disability, 1 member, 2-year term expiring in April of 2023. May I have a name?
Madam Chair, I'd like to nominate Ms. Patricia Tavalazzi for that position. As we heard earlier, she's got an extensive history working in the medical field. She's been a nurse for 10 years, a trauma nurse. She's well networked with clinics and the private, state, and state providers, and she's currently working on our APRN. I think she's clearly qualified for this position.
Second.
Okay. There's a second, right?
Jim?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, very good. Are there any other nominations on the floor?
Madam Chair, yes, I would like to nominate, as we have in the past, Robin Mitchell. As I had put on the record before, Robin has an extensive background in this area as well. She's served for 10 years on the Board of Directors of Plainville Arc. I know you know Robin very well, Madam Chair, and I think she would be an excellent advocate for, persons with disabilities.
Thank you. And I have a second for Robin. Very good. Okay. So what we're going to do, there are two names on the floor. We'll vote with a name, please. So,
Just
yes, go ahead.
comment before. I want to thank Susan because I didn't know about Patricia until I heard the comments here, which is a little concerning that that's where we're finding out this information about the person being appointed. So thank you, but I would have liked to have seen a little bit more balance and the representation on this commission. Not that there's anything against Patricia, but I think Robin would do a great job as well.
I think so too, either. All right, let's, Madam Clerk, would you call the roll?
Lombardi,
Patricia Tavolazzi.
Morelli,
Patricia Tabalazzi.
Palmieri,
Robin Mitchell.
Perry,
Robin Mitchell.
Chaplinsky,
Patricia Tavolazzi.
Del Santo,
Ms. Tavalazzi?
DiPaolo,
Robin Mitchell.
Dietrich,
Tabalazzi.
Triano.
Tavolazzi. Congratulations, Patricia's with us. Thank you very much, Patricia. Very good. Okay, moving along, Conservation Commission, one member, 4-year term expiring April 2023.
Madam Chair, I've been given the name and will hereby appoint Sandra Beal to fill out the term to April 2023.
Thank you very much.
Can I ask a question?
Sure, of
What is
course.
What is the political affiliation?
It says
She's a
Democrat.
She's what?
A
Okay.
Democrat.
So let's move on to Housing Authority, one member, 5-year term expiring October 2025.
Madam Chair, I've been given the name and hereby appoint Jason Watson to fill the unexpired term till October 2025, and he's a Republican.
Thank you very much. Parks and Rec, may I have a motion, please? Well,
Yes, Madam Chair.
There are two, on Parks and Rec, there are two. Mr. Maselli and Julia Portfolio, pardon me. Portfolio, yeah. Thank you. Go ahead.
Yeah, Madam Chair, I'd like to make a nomination to reappoint Joe Maselli.
I'll second, Madam Chair.
Okay. Any other nominations? Hearing none.
Are we doing independently?
Yeah, I think we should do them independently. All those in favor for Mr. Maselli signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Thank you very much.
Madam Chair, I'd like to also make a motion for Mr. Todd Ritchie of 270 Chesterwood Terrace. He's a Republican. Also a principal civil engineer at a local consulting company.
I miss his last name.
Richie.
R-I-T-C-H-I-E.
Do I have a second?
I'll second, Madam Chair.
Okay, do I have any other names?
Yes, I'd like to. I reached out and heard from Julie Portfolio. She is interested in serving again. I think she's done a great job in that commission. So I'd like to make a motion to reappoint Julia Portfolio.
Thank you. Do I have a second for Julia?
Second.
Thank you. We will do the same thing in this manner. We'll just vote by name. And so, Madam Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Lombardi,
Mr. Todd Ritchie.
Morelli,
Todd Ritchie.
Palmieri,
Julia Portfolio.
Perry,
Julia Portfolio.
Chaplinsky,
Richie?
Del Santo,
Mr. Ritchie?
DiPaolo,
Julia Portfolio.
Dietrich,
Richie.
Triano.
Todd Ritchie. Thank you very much. The last item is the appointment to the Regional Health District, which is a town council appointment. Do I have a motion?
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a table.
Going to table. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second to table. There's,
For both? or
Both or
which?
one, or?
we can, the motion is for both?
I'm trying to make a motion to table both.
Both, okay. And your
Second.
second is for both. So we're going to table the whole thing for both with one motion. So,
All in favor? Or?
Yeah, just all.
all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Opposed?
Opposed.
Okay, so do all three of you oppose that?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much. All right.
All right.
Well, so right now, we're moving on to our adjournment. I would need a motion to move into
So moved,
executive
Madam Chair.
session for the purposes of a heart and hypertension issue and banning the press and public, but inviting the town manager, the town attorney, dash, corporate counsel, and of course, Attorney Sheffield. May I have a motion?
So moved, Madam Chair.
I'll second.
Second. All those in favor, by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Thank you.